welcome to Impact Africa, our online talk show where we get to have conversations with diverse people and organizations who are impacting lives positively. Yes, this is me, Kemi Akiode Adebayo, aka Mama K. And in the studio today for this special series where we're focusing on philanthropy and to share a story is my own sister. Yes, she's my blood sister. I have to make that disclaimer. A bold, multi-skilled, smart, intelligent, dynamic. Oh, I could go on and on. Mopelola Lamond. In fact, she needs to say her name for you properly. She's based in Azerbaijan, in Baku, and she's my guest today. Mopelola, how are you today?
Very well, thank you, Mama K.
I know you always go your name. What's your name? I know you like telling us the full thing. What's your name? And what does your name mean?
So I'll tell you what my name is first. Okay. So it's Mopelola Aduke Akiode Lamond, and Mopelola means I am complete in all things.
Okay.
In joy.
Right.
In peace.
Okay.
In harmony.
Good.
In love.
Good. So tell us a little bit about family, education, growing up in Nigeria, and relocating, from Scotland to from Nigeria, obviously, Lagos, to Scotland and then to Baku. So share your story.
Right, I'll give you a very brief version, obviously, but I think I consider myself really blessed. Because I went to some of the top schools back in Nigeria. I learned so many things that have helped me through my journey in life. I'm blessed to have a sister like Mama K, I must say that, because without you, I wouldn't have made the next bold step to move from Nigeria to Aberdeen. And that came with a lot of challenges, as you remember as well. Because I was a straight A student, but the Nigerian education system frustrated the hell out of me. But with such an obstacle, the Lord used you and used my Captain Jide as well, who's my brother-in-law, to really help, so I could have a better education in Scotland, in Aberdeen, of which I'm truly grateful for.
Let's go back to before that.
Okay.
Life in Lagos. Were you born in Lagos?
Yes.
Growing up in school?
Yes.
How was school? Boarding house?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
so
tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So yes, born and bred in Lagos. So I went to Fountain Primary School. Okay. That was a delight. I still have some of
That's in Surulere, Lagos.
In Surulere.
The Sunnyfields is the best. So those watching, if you know rivalry between this primary school.
Let's not go
there. Sunnyfields. You should have been a product. But let's not go there. Let's move on. So right. Fountain.
So I went to Fountain Primary School, and that was really, really good. I met some of my childhood friends, from there, and we're still friends 40 plus years later. And then I went to Sagamu.
40 plus years.
I know.
Over 40.
I know.
Let's go there. But anyway, you look good. I'm not saying that because you're my little sister, but you look good.
Thank you. I give God all the glory. So yes. So then I started my secondary school at FGGC Sagamu.
As a federal government girls' college.
That's right.
That was my school as well. She decided to finally
I followed
yes.
you. So. And that's interesting, to be honest. Again, we were taught with very iron hands. So we learned what discipline meant. We learned what excellence meant as well. How to work hard and and be smart and streetwise. I remember the days when we basically had to fight for our food because the seniors would take our portions away. so you had to be streetwise, otherwise you'd just starve. So
and you probably were small.
I was tiny. I was tiny.
Okay.
I was bullied.
Okay.
But I stood up to my bullies and put them in their place and become very creative when you're in an environment like that. So but I had the best of my times really in Sagamu, and I made some amazing friends as well from there who are still very good friends till date.
So now let's cross over to now. I know you've mentioned about being in Scotland. So where did you study? What did you study in Scotland?
Yes. So
and how was life as a graduate and I don't know, somebody that just came from Nigeria at that time.
Oh yeah, I still remember very well. Okay. So I moved to Aberdeen. And
what year was that?
Oh my goodness, I cannot remember.
Exactly.
For me.
It's okay.
A long time ago. It's a long time. I think probably 97, but I may be wrong. Thereabouts, yeah. But I remember very well, it was cold. That much I remember. And I wondered why everything was so expensive, because I was converting everything to Naira.
Which is the local currency in Nigeria.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, who pays this much for this? No, never. But it was good. It was a delight. I went to University of Aberdeen to study mechanical engineering. And I remember very well my very first class. The lecture, I was pretty much the only black girl in the class. And you could draw a circle around me with about 4 chairs. And there was nobody near me.
Wow, really?
Yes, so I was a black female, in a class where everybody else was predominantly white, male, so that was interesting. So I made a conscious effort the next day to go into my lecture late. So then I sat with someone else.
Okay. That was a strategy.
It was a strategy. If you ain't gonna sit with me, I'm gonna sit with you. So and that worked. And I'm blessed with a very bubbly laugh. I think that's what we do in our family.
Right, okay.
So I think that kind of helped. It wasn't difficult at all to make friends. And I was distinct. I was, obviously very different. But that was a good thing. That was my unique selling point.
Awesome. So, you know what? We'll be right back. We need to come back. We'll be right back. What a story we've been hearing from Mopelola Lamond, journeying from founding to Sagamu, then from Nigeria to Scotland, and the fact that, culture, for you, things, with the prices of goods, like you said earlier on, and in your class, being a mechanical engineering student, only black female in that class, and you had to develop strategy. So share some of your experience, on life, even living in Aberdeen, Scotland, and how did you get into philanthropic work? How did you become a volunteer? What did you start doing? And
yeah, so I guess way back then there were just very few black people in Scotland, and primarily in Aberdeen where I resided. So I did unfortunately get some overt and covert, racial remarks.
Right.
So I think that for me was a bit of an eye-opener. And it made me realize that a lot of these folks just weren't exposed, they weren't well-traveled. And so they probably just had never seen black people. So rather than see it as a negative,
do you more of like an ignorant thing rather than,
I mean, some of them were a bit malicious, but most of them was born out of ignorance. Really. So I think it was necessary, really, to try to create awareness of some sort. And of course, as you were my sister, you had a huge role to play in that as well, because there was MEAL, Multi-Ethnic Aberdeen Limited, of which I became, very, very active, basically with. So that gave me the platform really to just showcase our African culture in so many ways. I remember we went to so many schools and did so many things in there, fashion and artwork and music and dance, and music and dance usually brings people together. So I think that for me was one of the moments, really. If I rewind back to Nigeria as well, there's a great man I knew called Alhaji Sanusi, and a Muslim actually, and he taught me how to give. And at the time, he was the district governor for the Lions Club in Ikeja, 404 district,
which is like a non-governmental organization, but about helping to put back in the community.
Exactly. So it was all about helping less privileged people in various dimensions and areas of their lives. So I think that with the whole meal experience birthed something in me to just serve in any community I find myself in, and whether it's at home, whether it's at work, whether it's with people I know or those I'm meeting for the first time, or generally just serving the universe. And I think that's what brings the fulfillment in everything I do.
Okay, so what did you least enjoy? Let me start with least enjoy as a volunteer, what you do, and what did you most enjoy?
What did I least
I'm sure there must be something, or maybe there isn't any.
It's interesting, when you volunteer for something you really want to do, the whole point is you volunteer because you want to.
You want to do it.
Nobody's forcing you to. You could be doing other things, but you prioritize that above others.
Okay.
So, and if you're a person of excellence, of which I believe I am, if I volunteered to do it, then I'm putting my all into it. So, list things I enjoy would probably be maybe people not having the same energy.
Okay, that's you, because you are the
and perhaps
which could be frustrating because
it's very frustrating.
You have so much energy.
I know.
Even me as a sister know that.
Yes. So that could be just a bit frustrating when people don't quite deliver to the expectation because they're volunteering. Yeah. So,
and most enjoyed?
Oh,
I'm sure the dancing in the volunteering.
That's a big factor. That's a big factor. However, I think even more than that, it's just knowing that piecemeal, one person at a time, you're changing people's lives, by opening their eyes to see the bigger picture, to understand that there's a bigger world out there, to understand, the purity and beauty, of diversity. I think for me, that's probably what I truly got out of it and enjoyed. When you see people who perhaps were in the dark because they had no knowledge, and then they come into the light and they embrace the diversity of culture and everything else, that makes them a better person. And then wherever they go, they then carry that light and then almost light another candle. And before you know it, exactly, the bigger world is hopefully a better place.
Yeah. So what are you most proud of, as an achievement, for you?
Oh, wow. There's so many.
I'm sure. But just give us one.
Okay.
I am sure there's, or maybe a few if you want to share.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So I can share one, definitely. So I remember a few years ago, I was working with Marathon at the time, Marathon Oil Company, an amazing company. And there was
in Aberdeen.
In Aberdeen.
Okay.
And there was an initiative with Lions Club in Nigeria.
Okay.
To build an eye clinic, an eye center, which was to provide free eye treatments really for less privileged people who had various diseases, cataracts, glaucoma, so they don't go blind.
Right.
And I remember very well, it started over a cup of coffee with a few colleagues, and I just mentioned it to them and said, I'm thinking of doing this and I'd love their support. And they jumped on the bandwagon, and we came up with ideas. It was super creative because first we wanted to get people talking about the event. So what we did was we had the paw prints, of like animals, the 5 big animals, and we had them all over. So we had them in the bathroom, on the floor, everywhere. So people started asking questions. What is this? What is this about? And then I put the posters out in terms of the event I was trying to do to raise funds. And they blew my mind away. So I was able to raise significant amount of money.
For an eye clinic in Lagos. Was that specifically in Lagos in Nigeria?
Okay. In Nigeria. Yes.
Okay.
So, and it was a big chunk of money that helped to basically build the eye clinic.
Wow.
And I remember going to the eye clinic once the building was completed, and I was actually quite teary, because there were real people with real problems, eye problems, getting free treatments and getting their sight back. Money can't buy that.
No, money can't.
So yeah, I'm grateful to God for the opportunity.
Wow. Kudos to you. Well done.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. We need to stop and we'll be right back. positive, project, in terms of the eye clinic. You got your co-workers, to get involved, to fundraise. And I'm sure that was a team building exercise as well, for people you guys don't know way back in Nigeria. And like you said earlier, when it's about how can we, one person at a time, impact lives. So if you're now going to look at your younger self, although you're still young anyway, maybe a young 10-year-old Mopelola somewhere in Lagos, or somewhere in Aberdeen or Baku or in India, what advice or what tips can you give in terms of life lessons that has helped you personally along the way and that person could learn from?
All right. Wow. To the younger Mopelola that is out there, I mean, there's so many tips, but I'll just try to summarize them. The first one really is courage.
Okay.
Courage to be different, to stand out, not follow the crowd. Courage to speak up. Courage to do the right thing. Courage to choose life above others. And that in itself is quite a big one.
Definitely.
And that comes from my personal experience as well. So beyond that as well is faith.
Okay.
Truly believing in yourself, knowing who you are, knowing your identity. For me as a Christian, my identity in Christ. And then simply fulfilling the mandates, the mission, understanding what my vision actually is. It takes a long time to get there, but starting that journey early actually sets you up for success in life. The other thing is tenacity, because there will be challenges in life. Just having the tenacity to keep going, keep trying. You fail fast. You get up, you do it again. You fail again, you fail fast. You get up, you do it again.
Right.
You never give up. The resilience to just keep going. Eventually you will break through. You will break through. I've seen it happen time and time again. So I genuinely believe in that.
Wow.
There's so many things.
Keep going. This is the bit I love hearing. So keep going, I'm listening.
So the other one as well is really being mindful who you surround yourself with. You are the average of the 5 people that are closest to you. So if you want to change your status, sometimes you may just have to change the people you hang around with. Okay. Make sure the people you hang around with are positive-minded people. People who will speak life into you. People who will guide and counsel you right. There are some people that have good intentions for you, but would still say the wrong things unintentionally, and I have that as well.
Okay.
So you have to be very intentional about what you do and what advice you receive, and obviously run with.
Right.
You have to learn to save.
I know that one very well. Our father taught us that one. Okay.
So to my younger self, you have to create wealth. You can't just be a consumer.
Right.
You have to find something you can do with your hands.
And you use your hands.
I use my hands. What is in your hands? What has God given to you? Every single person has got a talent. They always say the graveyard is like the most expensive place because it's buried talents all there. That's sad. It's important to understand what our gifts basically are. And then you use those gifts to serve humanity. And when you do that, the riches of life, the blessings of life, the goodness of life, the joy of life kind of pursues you. Because you're doing what you were born to do. So, and there's so many other things that I could say.
We could have a whole program on this. That's what I'm finding out with most of my guests. This is the bit for me. that people tell us time and time again that has been very useful for them, in terms of the tips and, the nuggets, people are giving them because, yeah, there's a lot, obviously in there. Before we go on to my kind of final question, so do you have mentors? Because that's one of the things I know you have spoken about before. If you have mentors, do you go looking for them, or how can somebody, the younger Mopelola again, go about, finding mentors or being mentors even to others at this age?
It is super duper important. Super duper important. So first and foremost, find somebody that you admire, somebody that inspires you as a role model, and approach them. Just simply approach them. You'll be very surprised that people are very willing to give up their time.
I think that's what people always don't think about. They think people will say no,
But that's the worst case scenario.
Exactly.
And even if they said no, then you find somebody else.
Move on. Okay.
So I have had amazing mentors, and I mentor so many people as well, because there's a lot of power, in that relationship. You learn a lot, both the mentor and the mentee. You learn a lot. But there's a huge difference as well between mentorship and sponsorship.
Yeah.
So when we talk about, for your career advancement, you need both.
Okay.
And what distinguishes between a mentor and a sponsor is you could go find a mentor, but guess what? A sponsor finds you.
Okay.
A sponsor spots you out.
Right.
And is willing to take a chance.
Okay.
To advance your career a lot faster at an accelerated pace than others, than your peers.
Okay.
So to get noticed, key thing, excellence. When you're diligent in the work you do, people will notice. Excellence, great performance, great attitude. You're constantly there trying to solve problems. You're genuine. You bring your whole self to work. You go beyond what has been asked of you. You will get.
You go the extra mile. Wow, we could go on and on, but we'll be right back. We need to have a break. So my final question now, is basically, because we all have things we're passionate about that speaks to us or means a lot to us in terms of our social issues. What are some of the social issues or issues around the world that mean something to you? And what do you think are the solutions to them? Because it's not just about, there's a problem or there's an issue. What are some of the solutions that you think can be used or that has worked in other places? Or maybe it's not even possible.
Okay. So there are 3 of these topical social issues I actively work in.
Okay.
But I'll focus a bit on one of them. But the 3 really are victims of domestic abuse.
Okay.
That's still a big issue around the world.
Yes. And it's gotten worse with COVID.
It has, indeed.
Okay.
The second one has to do with widows. Helping and supporting widows and children as well, and orphans. And then the third one has to do with tackling the issues surrounding diversity, inclusion, and equality in the workplace.
Okay.
So those are the key things that I focus on, and I can talk about more. I can talk about the last one in a bit more detail because I'm fairly active in all of them, but this is very prominent for me. So I think what is important with creating a diverse workforce really is first and foremost understanding that there is a problem.
And accepting that there is.
Understanding that there is a problem, and not just accepting it, but genuinely willing to do something about it.
Right.
And it needs to come from the top house. If the grassroots are doing something, but the big bosses up there pay lip service to it, nothing is going to change. You will get frustrated employees, really. George Floyd didn't have to die for people to take notice, but he didn't die in vain. Because following the death of George Floyd, the whole world woke up.
Yeah.
You know, the workplace took notice. A lot of the CEOs of major top companies, for the first time in forever, actually spoke against those atrocious actions and started to reflect and think about how to make a change in their organizations. When you look at the top of the house, there are still very few minority groups at the top of the house. Very few women at the top of the house. So there's still a bias really against these groups. It's important to create awareness about it, and then it's important to do something about it. But you have to actively do something about it.
Not talking.
And not just talking. So some of the solutions are very simple to tackle this problem. Identifying talent and literally sponsoring them. So I mentioned earlier about sponsorship.
Yes.
One of the reasons why we've had such a differential, a gap, is really because people tend to choose those who look like them. And because the people at the top of the house are typically white, middle-aged men, when they sponsor people that look exactly like them and pull them through. Who is sponsoring the black single woman or the Asian disabled man who is equally capable? So when we talk about a meritocratic, world and a playing field, that's where we need to be. You got the potential, you've got your performance to back you up. It should have nothing to do with the skin color. It should have nothing to do even with how you look. Because you find sometimes, I've had my fair share where because I look good and I love my hair and my makeup, I obviously can't be like a real engineer, right? And I look so young too, so it works against me. But I'm not going to change who I am just to prove something to somebody. You need to see the talent I've got inside of me. And you need to want that, otherwise it's your loss.
Correct.
So the solution, so many organizations really have to be intentional about how they recruit, how they train, and how they pull talent through the organization. Having a diverse panel doing interviews. So the bias, at least you know that if you have a diverse panel, you can maybe not eliminate it, but you can tone it down. The number of people who have had to change their names on their CV just to get recognized. I did it. So my full name, as you know, is Mopelola. When I sent out the same CV with Mopelola, I didn't get anything. But when I changed it to Lola, not Lola, Lola.
It opened doors.
It opened doors. It's the same CV. All that changed was the name. That's got to change. That's not right. So it's the entire workforce, the entire organization that needs to work it out. We need to call out microaggressions as well. We can't tolerate these microaggressive behaviors. Enough is enough. Not in this day and time should things like that still be tolerated. But it starts from the top house. But we also have to performance manage ourselves. What you don't monitor or manage, you cannot do better at. Because what are you comparing it against or to? So you need to have a way to understand where you are, what your vision is, or your target is, and then annually really checking the progress that you're making to get there.
Wow, This is also deep, and I know we're running out of time. My director's been waving at me somewhere there. So we could possibly have a part two sometimes in the future.
Why not?
I know this is our second series, and I'm looking forward, to more conversations. So will that be okay to do a follow up?
It will be a
due course?
pleasure.
Okay. So now in closing, what I want you to do, I want you to speak to a particular group of people or anyone you want to speak to, and just give any words of encouragement. But I want you to do that, directly by looking at
Oh,
them.
wow. Right. Right. I guess this applies to everyone because the past couple of years has been tough with the pandemic. So whilst we all look after our physical health, it's also important to look after our mental health. The battle is here. So for anyone who's struggling, please seek help. Speak to someone. You are not alone. At various points in our lives, we will all go through a dip. All we need is someone to hold our hands and help us through that dip so we can come out to the other end, shining and glowing. So whatever it is that you may be going through, whatever loss you may have had, remember, it can be recovered. Those are material things. You're alive. I'm alive. Let's make the most of it. Keep your mind in a happy place. Exercise if you can. Surround yourself with positive people. Do the things you enjoy. Life is indeed very short. I think that's one thing we've all learned in this period. Be yourself. Don't try to be like someone else. Unfortunately, the social media, even though it's awesome, has created a monster where people are constantly living double lives. You cannot be truly joyous and joyful when you don't live your life. So be intentional about how you live, the people you surround yourself with, what you do, how you do it. Don't give the devil rental space in your mind. Don't dwell in negatives or things that hurt you or take you to a dark place. Look forward. Forward, for me, I break it down. The first F is for faith. I mentioned that earlier. Believe in yourself. Believe in the supreme God who created you. O is for obedience. Obedience to his word. R is for relationship. For me, it's relationship with my God and relationship with humanity. Living at peace with all. W is his word. I read the word. This is the Bible now. Because it keeps me alive. It keeps me sane. I learn a lot of wisdom from his word. A is ask. Ask in prayer. Ask for help. The second R is renewal of your mind, which is what I was talking about. Renew your mind. As a man thinketh, so he is. Don't harbor negative things in your mind. And then the D, which is a big one, is to dream. Dream big. Don't let anyone shortchange you of your dreams. But as you dream and you have this huge, magnanimous visions, write them down. Write them down. And don't just write them down. Run with it. Act on it. And slowly but surely, you will have progress. You will live a fulfilling life. And ultimately, what matters is to feel fulfilled at the end of the day and to serve others and pull out others as well along the way to have a fulfilling life. I love you all. It's been a great time being on Mama K's show. Thank you for the platform. Thanks for the opportunity. It's been awesome. So be you and be the best version of you because you can be.
Wow. That was some insightful words of encouragement. Look forward, and you spelling the forward, in terms of faith, obedience, relationship, word, ask, renewal of mind, dream big. That is deep. And everything else, that you have shared there. Thank you so much for your time,
It's
and
been a pleasure.
we wish you all the very best, and we look forward to more of you impacting lives positively and sharing your story,
Thank you.
of your philanthropic work and other things that we hope, might inspire others. So kudos and well done to you for all you do and all you've done so far. And I'm not just saying it because you're my sister, real blood sister, but because, yes, I admire you, I have a lot of respect for you, and you have so much to give. And you said there, be intentional. Um, there was just a lot. I can't even, excellence, is what you always aim for, all the time. So keep on keeping on.
Thank you. It's been awesome. Thank you very much.
I'll
Mama
be-
K.
You're most welcome. Well, that's all we've got time for, and it's been a blast having this wonderful session, special series with Mopelola Lamond, one of our mechanical engineers who is raising the flag for Nigerians and Africa in Azerbaijan, Baku, and all over the world. And we hope, our story has inspired anyone, out there, either the tips or a story or whatever else. Please give us feedback. We always like feedback. And till next time, yes, this is Mama K signing off. Remember, God is love. Love you guys all. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay prayerful. Love you all.